I'm Harris Faulkner. This is the Fox Report. Bottom of the hour, and here's what's happening. The talking continues in Switzerland at this hour. The clock, as you know, ticking toward that deadline for a nuclear deal with Iran on Tuesday. Meanwhile, critics express their opposition to the Obama administration's foreign policy. Watch.
Intelligence has to be part of the calculus of every strategic level decision. And right now, my sense of where the policy is at is sort of, and I hate to say it like this, but it's almost a policy of willful ignorance.
Wow, strong words. The Fox News political insiders are here, and we love it when you chime in and tune in while you watch. We want to get your comments in here as we can on our Fox News social media pages. John LeBoutelier, former Republican congressman for New York. So watch at the bottom of the screen for that info. Pat Caddell, a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and Fox News contributor. Doug Schoen, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and Fox News contributor as well. All right, gentlemen, I said it during the commercial. I'm going to say it again because I know you like hearing these words. I think you were right. Everything you've been talking about is happening now, Doug.
I think we were right. We are now heading towards a deal where the United States basically signs off on a policy that will allow Iran to potentially get a bomb during the 10-year period of the agreement. They're going to be able to continue to enrich uranium at low levels, have thousands and thousands of centrifuges. All the while, Harris, Iran is now leading an operation with Shiites in the Middle East that has provoked a counter-reaction. And you know what? We appear, if anything is clear, to be on the Iranian side.
And for anybody who would doubt when we talk about Iran-backed rebels inside Yemen, because I think that's what you're talking about
precisely
there. They were doing airdrop supplies a couple of Sunday nights ago when we were all together. I mean, we're not just talking about tacitly supporting them. They're supplying them. And, Pat, you say that there's a very good reason why we should believe that this deal is being done, because part of it may already be done.
Yeah, I think the deal is done. I think with the defector, the chief media advisor to the president of Iran, who was covering the talks, defected to Switzerland yesterday or the day before, and said he couldn't do this anymore, making up all this stuff. And he said, frankly, the United States, he said the deal is done. The United States' role basically is to convince the European allies to go along with this. They have given away the store, and we will see. And my whole theme, John never talked about this, the theme of everything we're going to discuss today is simple. The currency of Washington is a lie, and the business of Washington is corruption. And nothing is more apparent than this.
One other quick point, and the United States is facing unprecedented risks as a people and as a nation because of what Pat talks about.
Yeah, I want to bring in the social media. Eileen Payne says, we are moving into the single most dangerous time period in the history of the United States. John?
I don't know about that, but it's certainly
John,
one of them.
I think we're pretty darn close.
We're pretty close when you have a country and a leadership like Iran on the verge of having the nukes. And I want to get back to whether we were right or not. Where I think we three have been right is that John Kerry has a mission here, which is to get an agreement, no matter what the agreement is. He wants it for his own political resume, because he wants to run for president next year. He thinks he's going to get the Nobel Peace Prize for doing this deal, number one. Number two, you know it's a bad deal when the French, of all people, are the ones holding up the deal, not America. We're putting the sanctions on, and the French are the ones saying, don't let the sanctions off. You've got Iran down. You don't agree with that, Pat?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, okay.
No, I think the IAEA said, look, one of the things stumbling blocks is they still won't answer questions about what they were doing before, which the UN has mandated. The IAEA says, you can't trust. Oh, but that was the point. You can't trust these people.
Let me just throw in, too. I've said it before. I want to say it again. I think what's coming is they're going to announce it by Tuesday, an outline.
Yeah, they have to do the framework of the agreement.
That's the key, and then they'll be write the thing up by June. But I promise you what's going to come out of this is that we have done secret side deals with the Iranian government, which will be letters from the president of America to the president of Iran. They'll be classified. They will not be given to Congress. Therefore, we won't know what's in them.
Can I say, Reuters already reported that the word is in their report on whether the talks are, there are secret deals that they've agreed will not be made public, that will be kept, quote, confidential.
There you go.
So,
all right. So in social media tonight, I asked people to respond to this question. What would your deal breaker be? And I want to get that from you gentlemen as well. But as I'm looking down, Nick Short said, and he's tongue-in-cheek a little bit, but it's an interesting point. My deal breaker with Iran would be for the supreme leader and his president to go 1 week without chanting death to America.
Well, and that's the other thing, and I think Nick Short is right. There has got to be some willingness from the Iranians to indicate that this deal is not a holding action to buy time for them, and that they're going to back off this commitment to destroy America and Israel.
Well, what about the report that we had on Friday that Iran has said they don't want it written down? They want, the framework of the deal to be sort of out there and talked about, but they don't want certain parts of it in writing.
They keep pushing. Look, the whole thing is going to be ridiculous. But look, this is an administration. All you have to do is look how they negotiated the Bergdahl deal. Let's speak of, we didn't want to lose that, where we traded 5 top commanders who were about to re-enter the battle.
Taliban
commanders back in the field for one deserter. Or, I'm sorry, I know he's not convicted yet.
Alleged.
But the alleged deserter. And the White House went out and said, he would serve with honor and distinction.
That was Susan Rice.
Yes, Miss Benghazi herself, Benghazi cover-up. And by the way, Miss Rice wouldn't know what honor is. The problem with this administration is, and I'll get back to this, I think the mask has fallen on the president. But this thing about chanting death to America, all I want to say is, if you're the president and said, Netanyahu can't take it back, and he said it. Well, we had the Ayatollah saying, but it doesn't matter there because this president has been in bed with Iran from day one.
Strong charges.
And against Israel. And
that's the big thing of the week.
We'll talk more about that because Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with his own people. And we'll talk a little bit about what he's been saying. We reported on some earlier this hour. Stay with us. While we're negotiating with Iran, they're supporting the rebels who are overturning Yemen. You heard Doug talk about that. The country not long ago that President Obama declared a success story in our fight against terror. Remember that? Well, here's the question. When the U.S. sits down with Iranian negotiators, do they ask, why are you turning Mr. Obama's success story into a disaster, Iran? Do they have an answer to that? All right, I'm going to go straight to social media here. So Jennifer says, she's echoing our conversation here with the Fox News political insiders. Jennifer says, so aside from the bad deal we know we made about there are going to be agreements between President Obama and Iran made secretly in letters, she's not really believing that. Is it true?
That's what I meant by secret side deals that we've all been talking about for weeks. And this goes on in government-to-government negotiations where to grease the skids to make the thing happen, a president will promise the other president, well, we'll do this, but we're going to keep it quiet because I can't get it passed through Congress. And the public doesn't know about it. And this is not a good thing. And this is why our president and our Secretary of State, who both came from the U.S. Senate, they do not want the U.S. Senate voting on this thing because they'll demand to know what's in the deal. And this is where we're headed, a big confrontation.
So you want to sign it before you read it, not even pass it.
They don't
you just want
to
to sign it before
They don't want the Senate to have say. They want to go right to the UN and get these sanctions lifted before Congress can gum it up.
So Pat would say something like this, and I'm putting words in your mouth, but this would be like the Obamacare legislation early on steroids, where you had to pass it in order to see what was in it.
Well, as I said before about lying and corruption, look, it's clear to me now, it's come to me what this is. The mask has fallen. President Obama has no more re-elections. He's not against Israel because of Netanyahu. I have decided he's always been against Israel, and now he can do what he's wanted to do. Remember, he sat in Reverend Wright's church, which was anti-Semitic attack. There's that whole attitude in Chicago.
Wow, those are some strong allegations.
Excuse me. We are now talking about the Defense Department released a report about Israel's nuclear weapons to counter Netanyahu about this new deal. Secondly, the White House is calling people saying they will support the Palestinians perhaps in the UN on, giving 2 years must be a Palestinian state with Hamas. This is a man who has supported Iran every step of the way. Starting.
Now, how do you know that?
Well, look at his record.
But how do you know about those? I know it's being reported, but I want to make sure that we're sourcing some of that.
I think most right-thinking people were startled, and I believe it was 2009, when the election came in Iran. It was clear the mullahs and the establishment had been beaten. Millions of people were in the street, Harris, and you know what happened? Zero.
Yeah, we didn't support
Zero. We
them.
did nothing.
When we found out about when the Europeans, and we've all found out about this secret place they were doing more of the nuclear work, what did the president do? He said, oh, it's an opportunity. The French and the British said, my God, this is outrageous, disaster,
All right.
whatever. He has been he's supporting he told them we won't attack Assad in Syria. They're a client. Are you kidding? There's one step. They had 2 years of secret negotiations with no one knowing.
I want to get in on this because there's been probably more than one, but one in particular Democrat who has spoken out against this deal with Iran, and that's Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey. And John, I see you over there chomping at the bit to say something. He came out again today, this weekend, with a statement. You got to know what's in this deal. I mean, he's speaking strongly, and he's got some charges that are getting ready to be pressed, reportedly, against him.
Well, and I
and you
think
say
it
the
is,
timing is curious. So
yes,
does Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. Timing is curious.
It is a legitimate question to ask. Is the administration threatening Menendez with these charges in order to shut him up because he is the strongest critic from the Democratic side of this deal?
And Harris, David Petraeus acknowledged lying to a federal officer, got a misdemeanor, no jail time. Maybe there's a double standard.
Let
just
me
maybe.
also just say this. This is a test now, both on Israel and this deal, for America, for Democrats, members of Doug and my party, whether or not they're going to stand with this president who is willing to do what he's doing. Are they going to stand for the country? I named Chuck Schumer for one. I want to go down the list. Are they going to trade their party, trade off their principle in order to, quote, support our party? The moment right now is so serious. You have to support the country. And it's time for our party to stand up.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, we'll end that part of the discussion there, but then there's more, and I know you know the Clintons, Doug.
do.
Even Nixon didn't destroy the tapes. That is what the chairman of the Republican National Committee is saying about Hillary Clinton and her erased computer server. She wiped it clean. But the email scandal, a public servant with a very private set of government emails, is not over yet. All right, have you seen this? New polling is showing 66% of Democrats would like to see Hillary Clinton face some tough competition when or if she announces in the primary. The Fox News political insiders are here, John, Pat, and Doug. So why would that be, Doug? You know the Clintons.
Well, because while the Clinton level of support is wide, Harris, it's not deep. And with the questions that have been raised about her, particularly recently with emails and the money to and from the foundation, increasingly Democrats are getting nervous and they're looking for alternatives.
And that's really the key, because we're reporting now the email server with some, potentially government emails are on there. It's been wiped clean. She says she only deleted the ones that needed to be deleted because they were personal. But that's not really what you're pointing to. You're talking about, were there ties between the Clinton Foundation and money with terror-supported states,
right,
and were there evidences in the emails? That's what you're pointing to.
Well,
Pat?
there is a written report about the fact that Sidney Blumenthal, who we discussed last week, and another gentleman who were running an intelligence operation, she was running off the books. And that's the reason she cleaned the emails, which, remember, included her top people. I'm not, and this is the report.
No, I hear you.
But what I'm saying is, look, this is 40 years after Watergate. She was on the impeachment committee. She does the equivalent of burning the tapes. She knows what she did with those documents was illegal. She had no IG. Her brother is involved in many of the
And IG
financial...
is an inspector general.
Inspector general, who must be appointed to look at the department. The only department without one. What she is doing is proving to me, and then when I listen to people...
Does it disqualify her, though? Because as people kind of look forward, they're saying, well, how important is this?
No, it's not just this. It's what's going to come out the rest. Her belief that they can, first of all, run crony capitalism. As I said, all the people with blue hair selling out and getting contracts. Meanwhile, her staff, which is essentially decided they can break the law whenever they want. And somebody's got to finally say, you know what? I wish people who oppose Nixon,
well, if you
like
just
I
watch,
did.
if you watch objectively, because I have no horse in this race, if you watch it objectively, Hillary is deteriorating. Okay, she's imploding.
But Democrats still support her, although Doug, you say it's
so much. But
it's wide but not deep.
Yeah,
that's right.
I've said this before. Hillary and her campaign are a gigantic balloon floating around in search of a pin. And when they
Oh, my
hit
goodness.
that pin, that thing's going to go
You
fast.
saw that poll you put up. One of the points about the competition was 28% of independents and 11% of Democrats said they don't want her to run, volunteered that they didn't want her.
Well, one thing is for sure, if there's competition for her in the primary, I mean, look what happened when she met technically a nobody in Barack Obama back then.
Well, that's
that could
what
make
she's,
her really
that's
vulnerable
what she's
or
worried
not.
about. She's
That's
worried
what she's
that
worried. But is it reality?
it is reality because Obama was 30-odd points behind. Elizabeth Warren, who in my polling is very close in New Hampshire and Iowa, could well get in if Hillary shows more vulnerability.
By the way.
That's what the
All right.
Clintons
Okay,
are
we
worried
gotta go.
about.